In this video, we're going to learn how to prepare our finished panels for cutting by arranging them onto a specified length of fabric. This is called nesting. It's very simple to do, and it helps us produce our panels in the most efficient way possible. Before nesting our panels, we should make sure that we add a warp line during the stamping process. Alternatively, we could orient the panels so that their warp direction is horizontal. These panels do not have a warp line, but since they've been rotated, they will still nest properly. All panels must be nested before using the output tool, because InPanel cannot handle panels after output, since they've been altered to suit the cutter system in use. There are two ways of nesting panels. The first and most common method is called full sheet nesting. On the InPanel toolbar, let's go to the options under the Arrange Panels tool. Here, we'll select the option to nest panels. Under Nest Sheet, select the option to specify dimensions. Enter the dimensions of the sheet of fabric you will be using to produce your panels. For this example, we'll specify a width of 40 inches, a length of 200 inches, and a large number of sheets, say 99. The nesting program will use as many of these sheets as it needs. Under Nest Panel Placement, we'll choose a warp angle limit of 10 degrees. This means that the panels can be rotated by plus or minus 10 degrees from the warp line. We'll also specify a minimum spacing between the panels of 0. Reasonable performance will be obtained with a linear resolution of 1% of the table width, an angular resolution of 25% of the warp angle limit, and an optimization level of 100. With a linear resolution of less than 1% or an angular resolution of less than 25%, the program will take much longer to nest the panels. Click OK. Now we'll select all of the panels and run the tool. Because we have not purchased a full nesting license, this information message will come up, but we can ignore it for the demonstration. You can contact Melior Design to purchase a license for this feature. The sheets of fabric, along with the nested panels, are drawn out. A report on the nest is sent to the InPanel text window, found here. Let's return to the InPanel nesting options and find out what happens if we alter a few things. If we were to specify only one sheet of fabric, for example, we would get the following result. Let's try it out on this set of panels. The program is still nesting. In this situation, one sheet of fabric is not enough for all of the panels, so the panels that are used in the nest will be identified in the original set of panels, they're marked in red, and the panels that were not used and have not been nested yet are still in white. Let's try one more alternate scenario. If we were to specify a sheet of fabric that was much longer than the cutting table, we would get a rolling nest. Let's see what that looks like. So here's our rolling nest with this long sheet of fabric. This nests more tightly, but depends on table indexing during sheet movement for accurate cutting. Another way to nest panels is by partial nesting, which allows us to specify the sheet of fabric by drawing it on the screen as a closed polyline, such as this one. Let's go back to the nesting options. Partial nesting is especially useful if we have an irregularly shaped piece of fabric left over from another project that we want to use. This time, instead of entering our dimensions, we'll select the option to use closed polyline in drawing. Click OK. Select the closed polyline and the panels and run the tool. Note that with partial nesting, we can only nest one sheet at a time. Here's that same information message coming up, but we can ignore it for the demonstration. The program is still nesting. You can monitor the progress of the nesting on the in-panel toolbar up here. And here, once again, we have the nested panels marked in red in the original set. The panels that did not fit are still in white. When nesting, any small unused spaces can be filled with stock pieces. Here we have a sheet of fabric with only 2 panels in it, in yellow, left over from our first nesting example, along with the reinforcement patch, right here. We can duplicate this reinforcement patch in InPanel using the Make Panel Copy option under the Modify a Panel tool. If we go into the options for this tool, we can specify how many copies we want to make. Say 40. Now we'll click OK, select the patch, and run the tool. So now we have all of these duplicate stock pieces, and we'll select them along with the unused fabric marked off by the green polyline, and then run the nesting tool. The program will fit as many pieces as possible with the designated warp limit into the prescribed area. Because we don't care what the warp angle is for stock pieces, we could have chosen a warp limit of 90 degrees, which would make for the best fit. However, that will also slow the tool down significantly. We're now finished with our exercise, and we've learned how to nest panels using full sheet nesting and partial nesting.